I don't know if you noticed, but it's wet outside. Not only is it wet, but it never made it to 40 degrees to melt all that stuff off. But I'll take you to Southern California and describe for us a fun little scene. Hopefully you'll forget about what is outside. It was a glorious day. Curtis had driven back to the town where only 38 years earlier his mother had gave birth to him. It was in Southern California with a delightful beach and many sweet spots to relax and read a book. Today the temperature was a balmy 80 degrees and with lower humidity than most, making the slightest breeze a delight. The sun was low in the east as Curtis made his early morning drive from his hotel to breakfast. Sitting down by a cool window, Curtis smelled his blueberry muffin, smiling at its warm crust and buttery soft texture. He hadn't planned much more for the day, other than seeing the beach close to where he was born. Just then his contemplations were interrupted by a jovial "hello" from a young man approaching the counter behind him. He looked up at the noise and met the eyes of a man 10 years younger than he, who appeared to be a student. Bulging backpack, laptop case, and clothes that appeared to be wrinkled from hours leaning on them while studying. Curtis knew that look well. Since he didn't know much more about the town, other than he was born near a nice beach, he gestured to the young man to come join him at his table. "Please have a seat with me," Curtis said. "Thank you, sir. They'll call my name when they're ready with my order." The young man sat down across from Curtis, and Curtis introduced himself. "My name is Curtis, but my friends call me Shark." "My name is Steven. My friends call me Steven." "Where did you get the nickname Shark?" "Actually, it's my nickname," Curtis said. "Curtis Shark Cardova. I'm in town to visit the beach close to where I was born." Wow, that's cool. After breakfast, I'm going to a local beach to do some research. If you're free, would you like to come along?" "What a coincidence," Curtis said. "I didn't plan anything else. Would you like a ride?" The two went to the beach. As Curtis and Stephen got out of the car, Curtis smelled the ocean-tossed air and took off his shoes and rolled up his pants legs. The sand squished between his toes, and it felt like the softest sand that he had ever felt. He felt young again. Those years drifted away. The two walked to the beach's entrance, and pointing with his finger, Curtis asked Stephen a question. "The beach feels so familiar. Do you have any nice reading spots around here, just off the trail?" Stephen said, "Yes, I do know of a place. Come here, I'll show you." They walked to a place that looked very nice. "It's my favorite place to study," Stephen said, while pulling back some overgrown branches and unveiling a beautiful clump of trees, sheltering a place where you could spend many hours sheltered from the hot sun, enjoying the beach views. Curtis looked around it. He had this strange feeling that something was quite right. He couldn't really put his finger out about it. As Stephen watched, he rummaged around the fairly spacious area, the trees, and examining the place, and rifling around in his pockets, he produced a photo. And showing it to Stephen, Stephen remarked, "Hey, that looks like you." The picture showed a young couple with their newborn sitting underneath the trees. Curtis agreed that the photo so closely resembled the place that they were standing in that he said, "This is the place I was born." And he turned to Stephen, and said, "Would you like to hear the story about how I got my name?" Stephen responded that he would, and Curtis began telling of his parents. George and Marilyn Cardova were expecting parents. During the last days of her pregnancy, Marilyn's husband put the information from the midwife in a pamphlet, convenient, in case they ever wanted to travel somewhere, in the car's glove box, packed up the wife, some clothes and stuff, and went to the Southern California beach for some rest. On the last day out, the beach was crowded, and Marilyn's contractions were almost ignored by all the bustling. People shouting, balls bouncing, and kids running every way. It was hard to think, and Marilyn's head was swimming. Suddenly, everyone started yelling and shouting at once, and running off the beach toward the parking slots. George couldn't make sense of it, and started to gather his stuff and the wife off the beach. Then they heard it. Shark! Someone had seen and identified a shark just off the beach and had gotten everyone into a panic, running off. Finally, when George and his wife were on their way, they were slower than everyone else, and Marilyn realized she was in labor. George, she cried, I'm in labor. Get that information from the box in the car. George stopped and stared for only a moment, then dropped everything and picked up his travailing wife. He rushed her to a quiet spot under some trees and away from the droves of people. George then picked up the stuff that he had dropped and gathered the information out of the car and walked back. Soon her pain had subsided and little Curtis was born. His parents decided that his middle name should be Shark, after all the trouble resulting from the day. Stephen was greatly amused and delighted. He laughed. After talking for a few minutes, Curtis continued a couple extra details about the spot, enjoyed the time there, and Stephen excused himself to attend to his schoolwork. As they parted ways, Curtis wandered back onto the beach and looked out across it. Thinking about how the time had gone, he saw something and laughed. Looking out at the ocean, he thought he saw a fin poking out of the water. That can't be, can it? He thought to himself while pulling out some binoculars and looking at it. Then he laughed. He fixed his gaze on the grayish fin just off the beach and laughed. While he watched, the fin dropped into the water and a boy's head popped up. Ha, he thought. Wouldn't that have been funny if it had been a real shark? The end.